There was a time when school dinner ladies ruled their kingdoms with ladles and hairnets, serving up meals that would send today's health inspectors into absolute meltdown. If you survived British school dinners from the 60s through the 90s, you're probably tougher than you think. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and tell us in the comments which dinner gave you nightmares. Turkey Twizzlers. Before Jamie Oliver waged his war on processed school food, Turkey Twizzlers ruled the dinner hall like edible orange spirals of mystery meat. These mechanically recovered turkey creations were packed with salt, saturated fat, and enough additives to preserve them for decades. Kids loved them because they looked fun and tasted like processed heaven, but nutritionally they were absolute disasters. Each Twizzler contained more sodium than a bag of crisps and enough artificial flavorings to power a small factory. The pink slime manufacturing process would horrify today's parents, and the 34% fat content would breach every modern school food guideline. They vanished overnight after celebrity chef campaigns, leaving behind only fond memories and slightly queasy stomachs. Spam fritters. Nothing said fine dining quite like a slab of tinned meat, battered and deep-fried until it resembled a golden brick. Spam fritters were the ultimate cafeteria gamble, sometimes crispy, sometimes soggy, always questionable. The sodium content was astronomical, with each serving containing nearly a full day's recommended salt intake for an adult, let alone a growing child. Modern food safety regulations would ban these greasy rectangles faster than you could say mechanically separated pork. The mystery meat mixture, combined with enough preservatives to outlast a nuclear winter, created a perfect storm of everything today's nutritionists despise. Yet somehow, queuing up for that crispy, salty slice felt like the highlight of Thursday lunch. Liver and onions. The mere mention sends shivers down spines across Britain. Liver and onions wasn't just a meal, it was a rite of passage that separated the brave from the permanently traumatized. Overcooked organ meat swimming in watery gravy, served alongside anemic onions that had lost all will to live. Today's schools wouldn't dare serve organ meat due to strict nutritional guidelines and the nightmare of accommodating dietary restrictions. The iron content was through the roof, but so was the cholesterol, and the texture could best be described as rubber meets cardboard. Most pupils developed elaborate schemes to smuggle it into napkins or trade it for literally anything else. Modern cafeterias focus on lean proteins and fresh vegetables, making this iron-rich horror a relic of tougher times. Fish fingers with bones. Before health and safety regulations tightened their grip, fish fingers sometimes came with unexpected crunchy surprises. Finding actual fish bones in your breaded rectangle was considered part of the authentic dining experience, not grounds for a lawsuit. These weren't the carefully filleted, bone-free products we know today, but hastily processed fish that occasionally retained its original architecture. Children learned to eat defensively, checking each bite for sharp obstacles while dinner ladies shrugged it off as character building. Modern food preparation standards would absolutely prohibit serving potentially dangerous bone fragments to children. The liability alone would shut down any kitchen faster than you could say choking hazard, but back then, it was just another Tuesday lunch adventure. Powdered mashed potato. Forget actual potatoes, school kitchens embraced the wonders of dehydrated powder mixed with questionable amounts of water and margarine. The result was a pale, gluey substance that bore only passing resemblance to the vegetable it claimed to represent. These artificial mountains contained enough preservatives and artificial flavorings to survive decades in storage. Modern nutritional guidelines mandate fresh vegetables and whole foods, making this processed powder an absolute non-starter. The sodium content was staggering, and the lack of actual nutritional value would horrify today's school nutritionists. Plus, the texture was uniquely awful, simultaneously lumpy and smooth, like edible wallpaper paste. Children worldwide developed trust issues with mashed potatoes that persist to this day. Gristly mince. Before ground beef regulations became strict, school mince was a lottery of textures that ranged from suspicious to downright alarming. Chunks of unidentifiable gristle, fat, and what kitchen staff optimistically called meat created a culinary experience that taught children to chew carefully and expect the unexpected. The fat content regularly exceeded 30%, and quality control was more suggestion than requirement. Modern food safety standards demand specific fat-to-meat ratios and rigorous inspection processes. Today's schools serve lean, carefully prepared proteins that would make those mystery mince mixtures seem like relics from a more dangerous era. Children learned early that not all brown things in gravy were meant to be eaten, developing survival instincts that served them well in adulthood. Semolina with jam. This dessert wasn't just bland, it was aggressively boring. Semolina pudding resembled wallpaper paste both in appearance and texture, topped with a dollop of artificially colored jam that provided the only hint of flavor in the entire bowl. The pudding contained minimal nutritional value beyond empty carbohydrates and enough sugar to fuel hyperactivity for hours. Modern school dessert guidelines emphasize fresh fruit, yogurt, and healthy alternatives that actually contribute to children's well-being. The artificial colors and flavorings in the jam would trigger today's additive-free policies faster than you could say e-numbers. Most children developed elaborate strategies to avoid this beige nightmare, including sudden mysterious illnesses that coincidentally occurred on semolina days. Spotted Dick. Beyond the snigger-inducing name, this traditional steamed pudding was a dense, heavy creation that could double as a doorstop. Packed with suet, refined sugar, and enough calories to fuel a small village, Spotted Dick represented everything modern nutritionists fight against. The currants provided minimal nutritional benefit while the suet contributed massive amounts of saturated fat that would violate today's healthy eating guidelines. Modern school puddings focus on portion control, reduced sugar, and actual nutritional value rather than historical novelty. The preparation process alone, steaming for hours in cloth, would violate numerous food safety protocols. Children approached this pudding with the same enthusiasm typically reserved for dental procedures, though the custard helped mask its concrete-like consistency. Shepherd's pie with fluorescent carrots. The classic comfort food took on sinister qualities in school kitchens, where the carrots glowed with an otherworldly orange intensity that suggested serious artificial enhancement. These vegetables had been processed, preserved, and artificially colored to achieve a shade of orange not found in nature. The meat layer beneath was often more gravy than actual lamb, bulked out with mysterious fillers that kept costs down and nutrition questionable. Modern guidelines require fresh vegetables and prohibit excessive artificial coloring, making these radioactive roots a thing of the past. The preservatives alone would breach today's additive restrictions, while the salt content would trigger immediate intervention from school nutrition officers. Pink custard. This wasn't your grandmother's homemade custard. It was a fluorescent pink creation that defied both nature and good sense. The artificial strawberry flavoring was so intense it could be tasted from across the dining hall, while the color suggested someone had melted crayons into dairy products. The sugar content was astronomical, and the artificial additives read like a chemistry experiment gone wrong. Modern school policies strictly limit artificial colors and flavors, particularly those linked to hyperactivity in children. The texture was simultaneously too thick and too thin, creating an uncanny valley of dessert experiences. Children either loved its artificial intensity or fled in horror, with very little middle ground between enthusiasm and complete revulsion. Corned beef hash. Before food traceability became important, corned beef hash was a mystery medley of tinned meat, potatoes, and hope. The meat's origins were questionable at best, and the processing methods would horrify modern food safety inspectors. Salt levels were dangerously high, while the preservative content suggested the ingredients could survive nuclear winter. Today schools require fresh, traceable ingredients with clear nutritional profiles and minimal processing. The hash's tendency to separate into constituent parts, greasy, salty, and unidentifiable, created dining experiences that ranged from acceptable to traumatic. Modern health guidelines would immediately flag the sodium content, processed meat concerns, and general lack of nutritional value that made this dish a regular feature of school menus. Jam roly-poly. This traditional pudding was essentially sugar wrapped in more sugar, disguised as a harmless Swiss roll. The suet pastry contained enough saturated fat to clog arteries just by looking at it, while the jam filling was pure refined sugar with artificial colors. The calorie count for a single portion exceeded many children's daily requirements, yet it appeared regularly on school menus without question. Modern nutritional guidelines strictly limit sugar content and mandate healthier dessert alternatives that actually contribute to children's development. The preparation method, boiling in cloth for hours, would violate numerous food safety protocols, while the ingredients list reads like a guidebook for childhood obesity. Despite its dangers, many children have fond memories of this sweet, sticky cylinder of nostalgia. Overcooked cabbage. School cabbage wasn't just overcooked, it was obliterated into submission until it resembled green mush with the consistency of baby food. The cooking process destroyed any nutritional value while creating a smell that could clear entire buildings. Modern cooking methods preserve vegetables' nutrients, texture, and natural flavors, making these gray-green disasters impossible under current guidelines. The sulfurous aroma became synonymous with school dinners, creating lifelong aversions to perfectly good vegetables. Today's nutritionists understand that proper preparation encourages vegetable consumption rather than creating permanent psychological damage. The water used for boiling contained more vitamins than the resulting vegetable mush, representing everything wrong with institutional cooking methods of the era. Meat pies with unknown contents. Before ingredient labeling became mandatory, School meat pies were edible mystery boxes that could contain anything from beef to playground rumors about less savory alternatives. The pastry was often soggy, the filling was questionable, and the gravy was more flour than flavor. Modern food regulations require complete ingredient disclosure and strict quality control that would make these mystery cylinders impossible to serve. The fat content regularly exceeded healthy guidelines, while the preservatives ensured they could survive longer than most pets. Children developed elaborate theories about the filling's true nature, with urban legends ranging from the plausible to the absolutely horrifying. Today's transparency requirements would expose these pies' secrets faster than dinner ladies could deny them. Chocolate concrete. This wasn't a dessert, it was a construction material disguised as pudding. Dense, heavy, and virtually indestructible, chocolate concrete lived up to its name by resembling building supplies more than edible treats. The cocoa content was minimal, replaced by sugar, artificial flavorings, and enough preservatives to ensure archaeological permanence. Modern dessert guidelines emphasize fresh ingredients, reasonable portion sizes, and actual nutritional benefits rather than sugar delivery systems. The texture was uniquely awful, simultaneously too dense and oddly crumbly, like eating sweetened rubble. Children needed industrial-strength spoons to break through the surface, and many gave up entirely, leaving intact rectangles that could be repurposed as doorstops. Today's healthier alternatives would make this concrete-like creation seem like evidence of a more primitive culinary era. These meals weren't just food, they were character-building experiences that created generations of resilient Britons who could survive anything after navigating school dinner halls. If you remember queuing up with your plastic tray, hoping today wasn't liver day, you're part of a tough breed. Subscribe for more nostalgic journeys through Britain's questionable culinary past, and don't forget to like this video if it brought back any traumatic dinner memories.